The Boeing 787 remains a pioneer of the new generation of wide-body flying, and since entering the industry, the aircraft family has amassed over 1,000 orders, and it is a staple nowadays across many airline fleets. However, the road has been bumpy. So has this aircraft been a failure, or can it be considered a success? You're basing this off the commercial success, but also the many issues that it has encountered. If you're new to GlobeTrotting, be sure to subscribe. Your support here would be really appreciated. See, Boeing launched the 787 during a critical point in its business, as it attempted to find ways to address airlines' requirements for a more efficient plane, and to fly more efficiently. While looking to replace the 767, the jet was also pitted as an answer to airlines' desires to move on from the 747-400s, and in some cases the A340s. Really, other planes opting for a simpler alternative. You wouldn't think the 787 is a like-for-like replacement for the 747 or A340, and you'd absolutely be correct. However, as the industry trends began to shift, airlines saw the 787 as a plane that would offer them greater flexibility, and that's really how that played out. Boeing used new technologies, more efficient engines, and other improvements such as materials to find ways to allow customers who purchased it to begin efficiently serving differing markets that were not previously within reach in a profitable manner. See, the many problems of the plane has really been a standout focal point away from the commercial success. It has been no stranger to problems since its birth, whether costs ballooning to groundings in the early days. Throughout the 2010s, one of the biggest stories related to blade cracking and more durability concerns on the Trent 1000 engines, among other problems with the plane itself. See, the engine woes really worsened. This led to extensive periods where 787 jets were on the ground right around the world. There were really no one that, say, escaped it. And what I mean by that is, it didn't matter if you were in New Zealand or the United Kingdom. It wasn't an isolated to a specific operator or country. By the time the 2020s arrived, so did an onslaught of woes at Boeing, ranging from the effects of the global pandemic to quality issues. These times were hard for 787 operators, and equally for expected operators of the jet. Deliveries continued to be paused for lengthy periods, throwing the backlog into disarray as quality concerns emerged and the FAA imposed airworthiness directives. In the mid-2020s, after rebounding from the global pandemic, it hasn't been smooth sailing how maybe Boeing would have envisaged. Rolls-Royce is in an engine supply chain crisis, which is then causing very challenges in engine maintenance. Furthermore, the acquisition of spare parts has been very messy, and airlines have seen their 787s grounded as they await these parts or maintenance. These timelines have also ballooned. You see some 787 operators saying they expect their maintenance to be conducted over a 60 to 90 day period, and then they sit 130 days later with no news on when their aircraft is returning or when engines are going to be repaired. It has an effect on their operations, but also their finances. So for those negatives, what about the success? Well, the 787 has enjoyed a whirlwind of it. Upon entering the scene, it became one of the industry's staples, and arguably has reshaped how airlines operate long-haul flights for the better. The introduction of the plane showed that the days of simply relying on quad-engined aircraft for service were gone, and in were the days of twin-engine planes that came accompanying with truckloads of efficiency. The 787 has acquired also over 1,000 orders. If a plane isn't good, it's simply not going to do that, and it isn't looking to slow down as more and more airlines look to secure the jet's services with every passing month. Deliveries are already guaranteed to continue into the 2030s. For airlines, the 787 has shined thanks to its flexibility and therefore versatile nature. Airlines have a wide array of uses for the 787, which is highlighted at airlines such as United. This, a US carrier, has confirmed that the 787 will actually be its long-term wide-body of choice, and the lone wide-body it flies. The company has every variant of the plane in service. The purpose of each varies, whether it's high-capacity domestic flying from the west coast to the east coast of the United States or long-haul flying across the Atlantic or the Pacific. The 787 is capable of doing all of these things to different manners, and that versatile nature allows these planes to be swapped over where necessary, and if a plane encounters a problem that puts it on the ground even for days, it's just able to switch them out. So from an order standpoint, and even simply down to specifications, it's allowed the 787 to really shine through. While there are some passengers that remain critical of features such as the shadeless windows, which can be locked by the crew, the plane's metrics stack up and it remains a success. And while maybe you watching who is an aviation aviation enthusiast will not buy a flight on, say, a 787 because of that. Someone else will. So our impact is very much minimal in that sense. Is the plane a failure? Well, the aircraft remains a success despite the substantial woes that have affected it since birth, based on specifications and certainly purpose. Challenges with engines are not necessarily related to Boeing's own core supply chain, but fundamentally do impact aircraft types right around the world. There's not really any prisoners that are taken, there's not really anyone that's free of this, and like I said, it is quite random. However, from the standpoint of persistent quality issues and an inability to get planes delivered on time, this would be a Boeing issue that would deem it thus far not a success for some operators. See, some airlines like Air New Zealand have felt cursed by the Boeing 787. They've just not been able to escape problems since taking the plane on. See, from Trent 1000 woes in the mid to late 2010s to now those very supply chain issues I'm talking about again, their impact has been huge and they've had to ground planes on a persistent basis, and for an airline that so heavily relies on the 787 to do its long-haul flying, you know the impact is colossal. However, then you have airlines like United who have seen the impact lessen. They rely heavily on multiple variants in the series thanks to the number of the available units that they have. So each airline's case is very different, and on paper, the aircraft has been an overwhelming success for many. But if issues are to persist for, say, another 5 to 10 years, well, then your fate is likely going to change. And I know I'm really dealing with the absolutes and the ifs, buts, and maybes. It's just something worth mentioning. Despite this, airlines continue to commit to the 787 series in numbers. The operators committing to the series know this is an overwhelmingly successful plane with metrics that align superbly with their desires. With such a heightened focus on efficiency and sustainability for the long term, the 787's numbers do stack up and is certainly an improvement on previous gen planes. Therefore, on paper, the aircraft is not a failure. Its specifications make it an industry leader. However, woes inside and equally outside of Boeing's control have plagued the jet for many years, and their impact on airlines differs, but therefore if you speak to an airline, they may say the very same thing. On a performance standpoint, when it's up and working, it's fantastic, but they can't get a consistent time with the plane doing that, so their frustrations are more than visible. Thanks for watching this analysis here on GlobeTrotting. If you have any thoughts on the Boeing 787, I am keen to hear your thoughts down below in the comments. Take care, and I'll see you in a couple of days.
And we'll fly.